You might find it hard to believe this, but for most of human history, a tiny wound could be a death sentence. A cut from a sharp stone, a bite from an animal, a simple infection spreading beneath the skin. Any of these could turn an ordinary day into someone's final moment. And the most terrifying part was this. There was no hospital waiting, no antibiotics, no emergency room, no advanced machine keeping someone alive. Ancient humans lived in a world where death was never far away. It was not hidden behind walls, controlled by technology, or delayed by modern medicine. It was always watching. But somehow, humanity survived. Not only survived, we built civilizations. We crossed oceans. We created cities. So how did a species so vulnerable manage to endure in a world that was constantly trying to destroy it? The answer begins with a painful truth. Ancient humans were not healthier than us. They were simply much closer to death. Today, modern society has pushed many dangers out of our daily lives. Hospitals fight infections. Medicine controls diseases. Technology protects us from countless threats we rarely even notice. But thousands of years ago, every injury carried uncertainty. Every fever was a mystery. Every childbirth was a dangerous gamble. Life was not something people assumed they would keep. It was something they fought to hold on to every single day. Archaeologists have discovered evidence hidden inside ancient bones. Fractures that healed. Serious injuries survived. Signs that people lived long after their bodies had been damaged. And this reveals something extraordinary. Ancient humans did not survive because they were invincible. They survived because they cared for each other. A hunter with a brock, and leg could no longer chase animals. A person with a severe injury could no longer gather food. In many parts of nature, weakness means the end. But humans made a different choice. We protected the vulnerable. We helped the injured. We carried those who could not walk. This may have been one of the most important turning points in human evolution. Not stronger claws, not sharper teeth, not greater pH, physical power, but compassion. Because an injured person was never just a burden. They carried memories. They carried knowledge. An elder could remember where water could be found during drought. A wounded hunter could teach younger generations how to survive. A person who could no longer fight could still protect the future. Human survival was never only about individual strength. It was about collective intelligence. But this way of life came with a terrible price. Without modern medicine, humans had to accept a level of suffering that feels almost unimaginable today. Children often died before reaching adulthood. Mothers faced enormous danger during childbirth. A simple illness could erase an entire family. Death was not an unexpected interruption. It was part of everyday existence. And living so close to death changed the human mind. It made us more connected, more dependent on one another, more aware that survival was never guaranteed. Because in that ancient world, one person alone was never enough. You could be the strongest hunter, the smartest survivor, the most experienced member of the group. But a hidden infection could still defeat you. The greatest weapon humans ever developed was not a tool held in the hand. It was the ability to stand together. But this raises an even deeper question. If ancient humans had no modern medicine, no scientific knowledge, and no powerful technology, why were they not completely destroyed by disease? The answer was not only outside the body. It was inside, hidden beneath the skin. Humanity carried a survival system that had been shaped through millions of years of struggle. A weapon older than civilization itself. The human body. We often imagine ancient humans surviving because they discovered powerful plants or mysterious ancient remedies. But the truth is far more fascinating. For most of history, their first doctor was not someone standing beside them. It was the body itself. When an ancient hunter was attacked and a wound opened across his skin, there was no disinfectant, no modern treatment, no guarantee that tomorrow would come. But inside that body, an invisible battle had already begun. Blood rushed to stop the bleeding. Immune cells moved toward the invasion. The body raised its temperature, creating an environment where some threats struggled to survive. This was not created by civilization. It was created by evolution. Human beings were not designed for comfort. We were shaped by danger. For countless generations, our ancestors faced threats that were impossible to see. Bacteria, parasites, viruses, invisible enemies that could enter through a small injury or contaminated food. A single mistake could become fatal. Yet humans adapted. They observed. They experimented. They remembered. They noticed that certain plants reduced pain, that some natural materials helped protect wounds, that certain behaviors lowered the chance of sickness. Ancient medicine was not born from a single discovery. It was built from thousands of years of trial and error. And behind every piece of knowledge was a hidden story. A person who tried something that failed. A family that lost someone. A community that learned from tragedy. Human progress has always been written with sacrifice. The dead were often the teachers of the living. Their failures became warnings. Their experiences became knowledge. Their losses became the foundation of survival. This is one of humanity's strangest abilities. We do not only learn from our own lives. We inherit lessons from people who never lived to see the future they helped create. But survival was never simply about knowledge. It was about adaptation. Nature does not reward the strongest creature. It rewards the creature most suited to its environment. Human bodies changed according to the challenges around them. Different climates, different foods, different diseases. Over countless generations, populations adapted in ways that helped them survive their specific worlds. Not because one group was better than another, but because life is always responding to its surroundings. Evolution is not a perfect design. It is a constant process of adjustment. The human body is not a flawless machine. It is more like an ancient tool that has been repaired and modified over millions of years. Every strength has a history. Every weakness has a reason. Every imperfection tells a story. But this ancient survival system also had limits. The body could fight many dangers, but it could not defeat everything. And when humans began building larger societies, a new challenge appeared. The same civilization that protected people also created new risks. More people living together meant more opportunities for diseases to spread. The growth of cities brought trade, wealth, and innovation. But it also created crowded environments where invisible enemies could move faster than ever before. Humanity had learned how to survive in nature. Now it had to learn how to survive the world it created. And this struggle would transform not only medicine, but civilization itself. Because when humans could no longer rely only on their bodies, they began creating something new. A collective defense system. Knowledge. For most of human history, the greatest enemy was not an army. It was something much smaller. Something invisible. Something that could enter a body without warning and silently change a person's fate. Disease. It did not roar like a predator. It did not carry a weapon. It simply waited. And yet, this invisible enemy shaped humanity more than almost anything else. Because when humans faced threats, they could not fight alone. They discovered the power of cooperation. A single person injured in the wilderness was vulnerable, but a group could create possibilities. Someone searched for food. Someone protected the injured. Someone cared for children. Someone remembered the lessons of the past. Human civilization Time did not begin with giant monuments. It began with people refusing to abandon each other. This may be one of the most overlooked facts about human evolution. Our greatest advantage was never physical strength. It was social intelligence. We survived because we could share information. A person who understood healing plants could protect future generations. An experienced hunter could teach younger people how to avoid danger. An elder who could no longer contribute physically could still preserve knowledge that kept everyone alive. Death took their bodies, but their wisdom continued. And that may be one of humanity's greatest victories over time itself. However, this progress was never painless. Ancient societies lived with losses that modern people rarely experience. Children often disappeared before they had the chance to grow. Families could be destroyed by a single outbreak. A mother giving birth faced a danger that could never be ignored. Death was everywhere. And because death was everywhere, it shaped human culture. Families became more important. Traditions became stronger. Stories became a way to preserve memory. Beliefs about ancestors emerged because humans understood something profound. A person may disappear, but what they leave behind can continue protecting others. Disease also changed the way humans understood value. In the modern world, we often measure people by productivity. What they create, what they achieve, what they contribute. But in ancient societies, value was different. A person did not need to be the strongest or fastest to matter. Someone who remembered the seasons could save a group. Someone who understood the land could prevent disaster. Someone who cared for others could strengthen the entire community. Humanity created a unique survival strategy. Instead of eliminating weakness, we learned how to support it. We turned vulnerability into cooperation. But as humans gathered into larger communities, another problem emerged. The same societies that gave us protection also gave diseases new opportunities. Crowded settlements, shared water sources, constant movement between populations. Civilization became a double-edged sword. It protected humans from some dangers while creating new ones. The more advanced we became, the more complicated our survival became. But this struggle pushed humanity toward a revolutionary idea. Perhaps the answer was not only adapting to disease. Perhaps we could understand it, study it, challenge it. For thousands of years, humans fought invisible enemies with observation and experience. Eventually, that struggle transformed into something much bigger: modern medicine. But medicine did more than save lives. It changed how humans viewed life itself. Because once we learned how to fight death, we had to face a new question. What happens when survival is no longer controlled only by nature? Centuries ago, a normal human life could be interrupted by almost anything: a wound, a fever, a failed harvest, a disease no one understood. Life was fragile because humans had almost no control over the forces surrounding them. But today, the world looks completely different. We have treatments that ancient people could never imagine. We can repair damaged bodies, prevent deadly infections, extend lives that once would have ended much earlier. Modern medicine is one of humanity's greatest achievements. But there is a range contradiction. The more we protect ourselves from nature, the more we forget how deeply connected we once were to it. Our ancestors understood something modern society often ignores. The body is not separate from the world. It is part of it. They listened to seasons. They observed plants. They recognized the limits of human strength. They knew survival was not about controlling everything. It was about adapting. Today, we place our trust in technology. And we should. Scientific progress has saved millions of lives. But there is a danger hidden inside comfort. When every problem has an external solution, we may slowly forget the abilities that carried humanity for thousands of years. The ability to adapt, the ability to cooperate, the ability to understand our own vulnerability. Because weakness was never the opposite of survival. It was the reason humans learned to connect. The ancient world was brutal. People suffered. People died. There is no romantic version of that reality. But within that struggle, humanity discovered something powerful. We are not successful because we are impossible to break. We are successful because we find ways to continue even when we are broken. Every hospital, every medicine, every scientific discovery exists because countless generations before us refused to surrender. They observed. They failed. They learned. They passed knowledge forward. The people who fought disease centuries ago never saw the world we live in today. But every life saved by modern medicine carries a piece of their struggle. And perhaps that is the deepest lesson hidden in human history. Progress is not about escaping our past. It is about understanding what made us survive long enough to create the future. Maybe one day technology will become even more powerful. Maybe humans will live longer than ever before. Maybe many diseases will disappear completely. But one question will remain. If we build a world where nothing can hurt us, will we still understand what it means to be human? Because the story of humanity was never just the story of defeating death. It was the story of learning how to live while knowing death exists. And perhaps the greatest survival skill we ever developed was not the ability to become stronger. It was the ability to recognize how fragile we truly are.